Hey everybody, welcome to the first edition of Go Farm Hawaii's Community Edition, where we're going to try to do our best to share with you all how you can grow food for yourself, whether that's at home or work or with friends and family. My name is BOST. I'm a farm coach with Go Farm Hawaii. So what we want to be talking with you guys about in this edition is just regardless of where you are and what your options are, how can you grow some food for yourself and your family? And regardless of whether you've got a lot of space like we do here or very little and you're going to be growing in containers and buckets, there's ways to do it. So that's what we want to show you guys. Well, welcome to Waimanalo, to the UH Research Station where Go Farm has one of our sites. We've been talking about where you're going to put your garden. So that's one of your first decisions when you're trying to decide about gardening. Is it going to be right in the ground and you're going to make beds like we do here? Are you going to be in a raised bed situation with, like a kind of panels around it and you're going to actually build a box garden? Or are you going to be in a container either because you just don't have much space or you're on a lanai or even up on the rooftop? And so in this first episode of Go Farm Community Edition, we're going to be taking you guys around to look at some of these different scenarios. One of those will be to IHS, where they're going to show us how to grow actually in containers. They're up on a rooftop. We'll also be at Leeward Community College, where they're growing in an area with not the best soil conditions. And they're going to show us one version of box gardens. And then we'll also show you guys some examples from Hale Tuahine and Manoa, where they're also doing some raised box gardens. We here in Waimanalo are blessed to have nice soil, plenty of growing area, and so we're here right in the ground. So we've made raised beds here. Elsewhere we'll be kind of going through the process of how to make raised beds and amend them and how to get them planted, but this is an example of what your bed might look like a few weeks after you've gotten things going.
Hi, I'm Amy. We're here at IHS, which is the Institute for Human Services. We're a nonprofit organization, and I'm working with the Taking Root program, which is part of our urban agriculture department. I take care of the rooftops, so we have hydroponics, aquaponics, as well as we're expanding to edible crops, and we'll hopefully be expanding to the other homeless shelters to help educate and teach them. I'm also in charge of working with the agricultural technicians, who are people that graduated from the urban agriculture class, and we help them build skills and also help them with their resume. So today we're going to be showing you how to repurpose buckets or pots or whatever you have around your house in order to transplant and plant edible crops. What we used today was a 15-gallon barrel. I cut it in half. So we have 2 pots. And from there, all I did was drill holes in the bottom so that we could use it for drainage. From there, we add soil. The soil usually has a little bit of fertilizer in there, but you can also add your own. Once the soil is in there, about 3/4 of the height of the bucket or pot, you want to add water and mix the water into the soil evenly. You want to make sure that the soil isn't dripping wet, but wet enough so that the whole area is damp. From there, we poked 6 holes into the soil surface, about maybe a half a finger length, and we dropped 2 seeds in each hole. The reason why we dropped 2 seeds is just in case one seed doesn't grow, hopefully the other grows. After that, we cover the soil seeds loosely, and you can add more water if you want. If not, you just cover it up, and you want to label the tags with the plant name and when you planted the seeds, just so you can keep track of what's in the pot and how long it took to grow. And that's pretty much all we did today. The guests were able to pick their own seeds, fill their pots, as well as plant their seeds, and hopefully it'll grow within the next month or so. So locally, the seeds, I would personally recommend UH Seed Lab, which is part of University of Hawaii's Seed Lab. They have different seeds. That's where we get our Manoa lettuce seeds from. So I'd highly recommend there to shop local. As far as the soil goes, locally, I'm not too sure. I know there's different places that you can buy it from farms or whatnot, but for the most part, we just go to wherever is selling soil right now just because it's a little tight because of the pandemic.
Aloha everyone, my name is Val Fajatina. I'm here at Leeward Community College in Pearl City. I am majoring in the plant biology tropical agriculture program, and these are our raised beds here. So we're going to go through them today, kind of a general step-by-step on how to do your home-based raised garden. So some of the reasons you would kind of want to do a raised garden versus going directly into the ground, basically it's just based off of the history of the land. So if you really want to see a production a little bit sooner and maybe not get so discouraged, it's probably better just to start off with a raised garden, because even though the misconception is that our soil is very fertile in Hawaii, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened over time. So if you want to start, it's probably better just to start with a raised garden and then kind of learn as you go what works and what doesn't, because not everything is going to work every single time. So if you want a raised garden, the very first thing you're going to want to do is kind of find a location that's rather sunny. The sun is really what your plants need to really get going. Sunny, and depending on what crops you want to grow, maybe a little bit of a windbreak. So if you see in this one, this big papaya tree causes some shade on this left-hand side as the sun goes around. And then these plants are doing a little bit better outside of the shade. So for a raised garden, you can have the boxed one, but there's also a very simple setup with this composite wood. It's 4 pieces of composite wood braced together. Really, really simple. These beds were filled with compost, but really you can use, just like at the store it says in-ground use or raised bed garden, you can use that. If there's no fertilizer in the soil that you use, it's always best to start off and just kind of continually use a slow release fertilizer. And then another thing would be access to water. That's actually another key thing. So you don't necessarily have to have an irrigation system. We have one set up here, and it's a drip irrigation system. They also have those boxes ready to set up at the home box store like Home Depot. But really hand watering is just as good. The only thing is that you'd really have to stick to your schedule, because especially in the beginning stages, plants really need care and attention with the water. So the hand watering versus the irrigation, when you're a beginner, it's totally fine to just start out with hand watering, because you learn what's going on with your plot. And even though it's small, if you have a small space, learning how the water is going to work with your plants, and especially the soil. You can see right here there's a slope. So each individual raised garden kind of has its own quirks with how the water is flowing down. So hand watering in the beginning will really give you a chance to learn what's going to happen with your plot, and specifically the soil in your plot. So that might be a better option if you're a beginner, just hand watering, and then learning irrigation as you go along if you want to stick with it. It's always better to do your research on what kind of plant you want to do first, always. And then after that, you can kind of decide the schedule of what's going to happen with your planting and then growing. You got to have kind of a vision before you just put something down, because you don't want your plants to start competing or maybe even like killing each other. And you also need to be prepared with supplies. For tomatoes, especially the indeterminate ones, meaning that they don't grow to a certain size and then stop, they actually will keep growing. But we see how we have them caged because they're going to get rather bushy. So you want to make sure that you always have the supplies ready. That way your plants don't basically grow faster than you are ready for them, because that can get really overwhelming. Especially if you're doing good with the fertilizer and the water, they'll really start to grow, and you want to make sure that you're ready for them.
Hey guys, we're back here in Waimanalo. It's been a couple of weeks.
I can say like what kind of skills they learn if you want.
Okay.
The way the... What did you want me to say?
Oh, just that